Do you have a cash flow problem? Well, if so, this financial freedom video is going to help you to understand why. So stay locked in. Well, my name is Carson Graves, certified financial planner and president and CEO of the Retirement Education Center.
And my name is Andrea Graves, Director of Operations at the Retirement Education Center. For additional concepts on how to maximize your retirement, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell to be notified when we upload new videos. Now, Carson, I know that there is no financial freedom with poor cash flow, and with most studies showing that most Americans live paycheck to paycheck, how can people improve this?
I would say that you have to know the difference between your wants versus what you need, Andrea. That's going to be the key element. And unfortunately, people's wants are so out of balance with what they need when it comes to their finances. So today, what I thought I would do here for this financial freedom video is to help people to understand the differences between their discretionary needs and their non-discretionary needs. Because once people understand this a little bit better, it's automatically going to increase or at least help improve their cash flow problems. But before we get into that, there are two rules to retirement income that we like to give you. And Andrew, what are those two rules?
Well, rule number one is to never run out of money. And rule number two is to never forget rule number one.
Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into our lesson today to see what we can do to help you to improve your cash flow problems.
Now, Carson, evaluating your monthly expenses is always good when you're evaluating your cash flow. Now, how can you break this down a little further?
Yeah, as I mentioned, you have to understand your discretionary expenses versus non-discretionary expenses first, Andrea. Now, when we're talking about discretionary expenses, it's just how it sounds. It's discretionary, meaning that you don't have to have it. So once you can understand this, then you can start moving over into how you can start, trying to even lessen the blow of your non-discretionary expenses, which are things that you pretty much are going to have in order to at least live some sort of functional life. So what I think it would be better for me to do is just put the chart up so people can just get an idea of what their non-discretionary expenses probably will be versus what their discretionary expenses typically are, so they can get a better bead on how they can improve their cash flow. So if you're taking a look at the chart right now, you can see some of the things that we're going to list as your common non-discretionary expenses. And basically these are going to be things that, you can't really live without. So first, let's just start out looking at some of these non-discretionary expenses that most of us are familiar with, like your mortgage loan. This is definitely something that you're going to have to pay, and your property taxes as well. Now, if you're renting, it's going to be whatever you're paying for your monthly rent. That's going to be a non-discretionary expense, a living expense. Also, your car loan is going to be typically a non-discretionary expense as well. Things like your food expense, utilities, fixing your car, the maintenance on your car, those are going to be non-discretionary expenses. Clothing. These are just common items that as we live, we're going to have to make sure that we're able to purchase and pay for, because these are items that's going to allow us to actually be functional. But I also want to add some things, Andrea, that may not be so commonly known to be a non-discretionary expense from the retirement perspective. Obviously, we do retirement education videos, so I want to add a few more things that you need to add to this list, and that would be things like your life insurance policies, your health insurance, and your retirement savings or emergency savings. These are items that you need to carve out to make them non-discretionary, because if you do not keep these items on your non-discretionary list, in the time of trouble, you will have no backup plan to help you keep the mortgage, to help you fix the car if it's broken down. Also, to make sure that your household is going to be appropriately taken care of if you pass away too soon. Also, to make sure that you can retire comfortably. So you have to make sure that you have those emergency savings, your retirement savings, and your life insurance and health insurance in perspective as a non-discretionary item.
Okay, Carson, you've pointed out some non-discretionary items that most people are familiar with, but now let's talk about some discretionary items that give people the most problems.
Yeah, when it comes to discretionary cash flow issues, Andrea, this is probably critical in what hurts people the most, because these are things that people can do without. This would be things like having all of those subscriptions to Netflix and Prime and all the other things, YouTube. This will also be included into your entertainment expenses, taking too many vacations or too expensive of a vacation, going on those expensive shopping sprees and buying things like watches and jewelry, things that are really not important when it comes to having yourself in a good budgeting situation. These are items that can get you into a situation to where your budget is out of whack, and you have to start figuring out what it is that you can either pull back from or completely eliminate altogether.
Okay, Carson, people can eliminate their discretionary items and increase their cash flow, but what about the non-discretionary items that people need, like their home or a car? How can they increase their cash flow there?
Now, that is a very good question, because like you said, when it comes to your discretionary items, you can increase your cash flow pretty easily by eliminating some of those things. Now, when it comes to your non-discretionary items, like you said, Andrea, you're going to have to be extremely smart and get good counseling here, because let's just say, let's just go to food, right? That was on the list for a non-discretionary item. Now, with food, we know we need to buy groceries and we can cook for ourselves. Maybe we don't go out as much, so we don't spend $300 to $1,000 per month just eating out. You're eating out every day, or you may be going to expensive restaurants on the weekend, whatever that may entail. You don't want to have your budget set for your non-discretionary items to get out of whack as well. So you don't have to spend $300 to $1,000 a month on food. Let's also talk about the type of car. You mentioned car, you definitely need it. Let's talk about the type of car that a person may not need to buy. Maybe you don't need that BMW. Over a 10-year time frame, studies have shown that it will cost an individual almost $20,000 for maintenance on a car like that, as opposed to buying maybe just a regular car like a Toyota, where it may only cost you $4,000 over that same time frame. Let's also take our attention to your other debts that you're going to need, like a mortgage. Well, one of the things that you have to be cognizant of is that your income to debt ratios, when it comes to the debt that you're going to have for these types of big purchase items, you're going to need to have a debt to income ratio of at least 36% and lower. So if you have an income, for instance, Andrew, of $80,000 per year, but your mortgage is going to cost you $30,000 a year just on the mortgage payment, you're already going to be over 37% when it comes to your debt to income ratio for that mortgage. And we're not even talking about the car loan. We're not talking about the other debts that you're going to have involved in that equation. So you don't want to get to a point to where you're 40 to 50% for your debt to income ratio when you're looking at your non-discretionary items that you're going to need to just have a serviceable lifestyle. So before you get into this lane, it's going to be critical that you sit down with professionals who can help you scope out a budgeting plan that's going to keep you in line, so that your cash flow problems will not be interrupted because you made some bad decisions on the front end.
All right, Carson. So what's the moral of this video?
Yeah, the moral of this video is that if you have a cash flow problem, you're going to need to take a list of your discretionary expenses first, Andrea. Make sure that you can either eliminate or decrease those expenses on that side of the equation, and then carry yourself over to your non-discretionary expense items and start looking for ways in which you can either eliminate or decrease the debt load or the leverage that you have in those items as well, in order for you to increase positive cash flow for yourself. Thank you again for tuning in to our financial freedom video. Please understand that these videos are created for educational purposes only, and that you should always seek out your own financial advisor, your own tax advisor, and your own attorney regarding your personal situation. Also, if you are looking for an independent fiduciary advisor to help you with these types of complex financial matters, we highly recommend that you utilize the links in our description below and go ahead and schedule a 1-hour free consultation with us today.
After this video, please check out our other videos that will give you tips on how to maximize your retirement. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have questions,
we have answers.